Who's our chant guy?
Well, let's get it down. What do we want?
Change!
When do we want it?
Now!
Hey, what do we want?
Change!
When do we want it?
Now!
Right, I want it now too.
Change!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Green grass!
Huh?
Green job.
Green job. What day do we want it?
Now!
Okay, we want green jobs.
Green job.
When?
Now!
All right.
Let's go!
BWC on three.
BWC on three, let's go.
BWC!
BWC on three. 1, 2, 3.
BWC!
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 Go! One more time. 1, 2, 3.
BWC!
1, 2, 3.
BWC!
Okay, let's go.
Let's go!
All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks everyone for showing up. You got on the bus. We got on the bus. Here we are today, this morning, for our rally in support of Senate Bill 1340. Good morning. I'm Melissa Morgan. I'm a regional organizer with the Southern California Black Worker Hub. And we're here with family today. It's amazing how we're all connected through this work to bring justice to Black workers, to end discrimination in the workplace, not just for Black workers, but all workers. Because we know when we deal with our issues, when our community loves us as much as we love us, it's going to impact everyone else. And we're going to have amazing, healthy, thriving communities across the state of California. So we're here today because we believe that all workers deserve dignity, respect, healthy workplaces to live their best lives, right? And the problem is, we know that thumbs down discrimination continues to impact us as Black workers across our counties, our state, and this country. And so we're here together, standing up together, speaking up together, letting our legislators, and today we're letting the governor know it is time to pass Senate Bill 1340. So, SB 1340, that's right. So, you know, where I grew up, we did daps. Y'all do some daps with each other where we say, what's up? Right? What's up? Yep. And we acknowledge one another, we see each other, we build relationships to change our community. And Senate Bill 1340 is going to do that. It's going to bring about equitable hiring compliance. It's going to bring about relationships, partnerships, dapping it up, shaking hands between state entities and our local agencies that are going to end the backlog of the discrimination complaints that have piled up. And there's real people here with real stories who have been fighting through that process to have a better life and an incredible work experience, which we all want. So thousands of Californians here who need the jobs most, workers from disadvantaged communities of color, like some of us here today, they are going to be receiving better jobs through green work, and we are going to make sure that folks really pay attention to what we're saying, what we're about, so that we can impact this community for the best. So to share a little bit more about Senate Bill 1340, we've got the mother of all mothers. This woman has created and founded the work that we do at the SoCal Black Worker Hub. She has been an educator for most of her life. She started out her work in journalism, which I think is really awesome, because here we are today telling stories, and stories we know will impact people's hearts to understand why this struggle continues today. This is a movement. It is not a moment. We will continue to stand up and speak up for our family, our friends, and for our Black workers. Senator Lola Smallwood-Cuevas, she represents the 28th Senate District in LA. This is one of the most diverse districts. one of the most diverse districts in California. She proudly chairs the Senate Labor, Public Employment, and Retirement Committee. Not only did she found our SoCal Black Worker Hub, but she also was a co-founder of our LA Black Worker Center. And she helped to direct and build the Care at Work Center over at UCLA, who we work in partnership with. And also with us today is our Inland Empire Black Worker Center. And another really important member of our hub is our San Diego Black Worker Center. Senator Smallwood-Cuevas serves as a member of the Senate Education and Health Committees, and she spent more than 2 decades building policy, not just the education and the storytelling, but building policy to make a real difference in our world and practicing change to advance racial equity in our workplace. So please join me in welcoming Senator Lola Smallwood-Cuevas.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Let's give it up for Melissa. Oh my God, there are so many amazing fighters for justice in the house today. I am so excited to be here with you. And I wanted to say thank you for bringing this LA weather to Sacramento. We've got some cool breezes this morning. And I want to say how much I appreciate not the work that you're doing here in Sacramento, but the work that you're doing in Southern California for all of California to ensure that all families have dignity and that we address the crises, not just in the Black community, but for all communities. And getting on that bus and coming here overnight shows the power of this organization, of this movement, and all of the incredible work that you're doing. So I'm so proud to be here with you today. I want to give a shout out because I heard, is the LA Black Worker Center in the house? Is the Inland Empire Black Worker Center in the house this morning? San Diego Black Worker Center is in the house this morning. How about the Warehouse Resource Workers? Are they in the house this morning? How about the California Worker Power Network? Are they in the house? Trabadores, Unidos, United Workers, are you in the house? I want to say thank you for being here again, and I also want to give a shout out to groups who have been working on this issue for the last, and I want to say, we would say a good decade, right? A good decade, fighting for opportunities for our communities to benefit from the investment with public dollars in our infrastructure and ensuring that every worker has an opportunity. And just some of the other coalition members I want to mention is the California Coalition for Worker Power, the Disability Rights California, the California Immigrant Policy Center, the California Domestic Workers Coalition, the California Black Power Network, and of course the California Labor Federation, Blue Green Alliance, Dream Alliance in the building construction trades. We are all here fighting for SB 1340 because our communities deserve to build where our tax dollars have invested. And I want to acknowledge the workers today who will join us and speak and to tell their story. It takes courage to come to the Capitol. It takes courage to come to the seat of power in our state and tell your story and to demand justice, not just for yourself and for your community. So I want to thank Castro Landers, who will address us later today. Let's give it up for Castro. And I want to thank Blue Jay Robinson also, who will share her story. Let's give it up for Blue Jay. So this has been a long journey, SB 1340. It's not the first time that we've had this conversation in Los Angeles County, but it is an evolution of our movement in Los Angeles County to say that if we can build a diverse workforce by demanding that every tax dollar that we invest in infrastructure become a benefit for our most vulnerable communities, we all win. And in LA County, we proved that. I remember when we joined the building trades. I remember when we joined our community coalitions. I remember when Black construction workers came and gave countless testimony about how difficult it was for them to get a job building in their own neighborhoods, even though they were trained to do so. And in that moment, we created a model called the Construction Careers Policy. We created project labor agreements that had community benefit agreements, and we said that we're going to set aside jobs for our most vulnerable and disadvantaged communities. And when we started that process, and I'm just going to give the numbers of Black workers. There were 2% Black workers on every large-scale project in LA County. But the research showed us that 10% of Black workers had already been trained through the state's apprenticeships programs. So what is the gap between 2 and 10? And I want to say we are the gap between the 2 and 10. We are the gap between the 2 and 10. And that's what SB 1340 is. It says we will ensure that the state of California has a policy that sets aside jobs for disadvantaged communities, that ensures formerly incarcerated women, single parents, folks from chronic unemployed zip codes, high poverty zip codes, at risk of homelessness, that they have a front seat to getting access to these good jobs. And why do we want to do this? Why do we want to do this? Because we have to multiply the opportunity. Because when we pull a family out of poverty, it helps all of California. So SB 1340 is not simply about workforce. It's about an anti-poverty approach that gives California the tools to take poverty head on and to use the dollars that we have to build a climate resilient future to also pull our families out of poverty. And I think our families deserve that call in. I think we deserve to call those families in. Am I right? And why do we need to do that? Why do we need to do that? We just saw the job numbers come out. And California, we had a low unemployment rate, but let me tell you, it's rising. Come on. Unemployment has jumped in the last year almost 2.5%. And we know in Black communities, in brown and immigrant communities, we know we are still in the double-digit employments when you look at our communities. And double-digit employment means recession. So some of our communities are in recession right now. When we look at the Black community across the country, and I want to look at this because the Black crisis, as someone said, when we lift Black workers, everything on top will elevate. And so when we have a federal unemployment rate that has 90% of those who are unemployed in this country are Black right now. 90% of those working age adults in this country who are unemployed are Black. And as we are facing this continual unemployment and economic challenge, we know in California where the rent is too damn high, where folks can barely afford food and transportation and keep the lights on, far too many of our families are low-income communities of color that are being priced out. And when you're priced out, you're moved out. So our communities are losing our most important assets. We have to figure out a strategy in California for sustaining our families, and it begins with how we build. It begins with how we build. This year, I fought as chair of the Labor Committee and joining so many of my colleagues. I fought to ensure that we had a balanced budget, that we could actually take care of the families in our safety net, and it was not easy. It was a fight. And so as the state of California is poised to receive upwards of $100 billion, with a B, billion dollars in climate resiliency investment from our Biden and Harris administration. Let's give it up for the Biden and Harris administration. As these dollars are ready to come into our state, California must be ready to maximize these dollars to ensure that we are pulling communities out of poverty. And I want to thank some of my good colleagues who have been in this fight with me, who have seen the bigger picture and understand this moment and how we have to multiply these dollars. Senator DeRosso, Senator Dave Cortese, Senator Lena Gonzalez, we put together a package of bills for the governor to say, this is how we can have labor standards in our green infrastructure and also have equity in our green infrastructure building. But unfortunately, sadly, as we passed that bill, in SB 150 to ensure labor and community benefits, as we look at the report of how we're going to implement, some things are missing. Some things are missing. We are not setting a requirement for contractors to hire our most disadvantaged workers. We are not requiring contractors to track who is getting hired in real time in a public way, so we can not just deal with fines and penalties, but that we can course correct and make sure we're building the partnerships to put our people to work. We are not bringing our civil rights department to work with our labor department to ensure the discrimination. And we know this is a sector historically that's had a real problem with women. This is a sector that's had a real problem historically with Black workers. But now we have the coalition of the building trades and community fighting, and we need our legislature and we need our governor to stand up with us and to say that we can create guidelines that can enforce equity and build a fair California. And if we don't do this, we will just commit more of the harms of the past, where we receive billions of dollars and they skip right over our most vulnerable communities. We cannot have that. Am I right, family? And when we fight, do we win? When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. And so I have one of my very dear friends, my dear sister in the assembly who chairs labor, the amazing Assembly Member Liz Ortega, a good partner in good trouble. I want to invite her up to say a few words on this topic, because she has been a fighter for working people in the Bay Area, as we have been fighters for working people in Southern California for many, many years. So I want to welcome my dear friend, Liz Ortega.
Thank you, Senator. Oh my God, the energy. I want you guys to look at us. This right here.
That's right.
This is power.
Yes.
This is power to win for our communities. This is what power looks like when you work with the community to send legislators to California that know the struggles, that know your fights, that know the issues, but also are willing to stand up in the middle of the night when the rest of you are sleeping and not be afraid to fight for you. This is what this looks like. SB 1340, as was mentioned by that Senator Smallwood-Cuevas, is about making sure that our taxpayer dollars go towards our union jobs, good union jobs.
That's right.
That's right.
We can't rely on promises that people are going to do the right thing. We've seen what promises look like in the past, and let me tell you, people don't wake up and say, I'm just going to do the right thing because I feel like doing the right thing.
That's right.
They wake up and do the right thing because people like you push them to make sure that there's income inequality is acknowledged and that we put an end to it. And that's why I am here to support this bill, SB 1340, because when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
let's do this.
So we have another champion with us, and I want to acknowledge that before Assemblywoman Ortega's committee, we had our opposition sit down and push us hard to get us to get our chair to not support this bill. They said it was too cumbersome to track racial data. They said it was too cumbersome to have a set aside that would target disadvantaged worker. What if we can't get that many workers on the job? But it was her leadership that helped us get that bill out of Assembly, Labor Committee, and over to the appropriations, and we hope to the floor in the coming days. So I want to really thank the Assemblywoman for her help. I want to acknowledge another champion in LA, Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, a member of our Legislative Black Caucus, and another fighter for working people, and particularly communities of color in our community in South LA. I'm so proud to call him a brother, and I'm so glad he's with us this morning.
I'm gonna be honest, I was just walking back to my office. But whenever you see Senator Smallwood-Cuevas and Assemblymember Ortega link up, it's a fight I'm in. Especially when we're fighting for workers. And we're fighting to make sure that the investments that we're making in green jobs and in infrastructure and in our entire workforce are tracked to make sure they are distributed equally. To make sure that the people that have historically been left out of the conversation, left out of employment, are included. Because it's not a state investment if it doesn't include everybody in our state. And that includes historically disadvantaged communities. And so I'm here in solidarity, I'm here in allyship, and I want to thank the author of this bill for her steadfast leadership, and all of you who showed up in person, because you are making the difference.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member. Thank you for not just walking by, but stopping in the middle of a busy day, I want to acknowledge, and I'm saying being the best, I didn't save the best for last, but I want to acknowledge SEIU. SEIU 721, SEIU 2015, SEIU California. Because we're talking about infrastructure jobs. And let's be real, they support service workers. But what I appreciate about this union is they understand that when unions stand up with community, it means more power. And so even though these aren't directly their workers, these are the family members of their workers and members who deserve an opportunity to build their communities in good union jobs and in fair and equitable ways. So I want to say thank you to SEIU for all of your support. And before we conclude today, I want to bring up the workers who are going to speak. I think first we will have Castro Landers. I want to thank Castro for coming and for sharing his story, and I want us all to listen intently, because Castro's been on the front lines a long time, fighting for fairness in the transportation sector, with Amtrak workers, standing with Black workers in our 1,000 strong to ensure our public sector has good union jobs, and that the public sector continues to be a real job for our community. And I want to thank him for his courage of filing complaints, of standing with workers, of assisting workers through the discrimination filing process. I've known Castro a long time. I'm proud to call him a friend, and he's such a leader in our community. Let's give it up for Castro.
That's right.
Give me a moment.
Take your time, sir. That's right.
Okay, I started with the company. I've been there for a little over 30 years. When I interviewed, I was told that there was a lot of promotions and I'd be really good. And I did that when I started with the company. It was a supervisor's position that was available. I applied. Out of 25 people, 3 of us was selected. I was one of the 3. The other 2 were trained. I was the only Black male that was chosen, but I wasn't trained. I filed a complaint about that, and what they did was they had me to switch into another craft. I excelled in that craft. I applied for a supervisor's position, and I wasn't allowed to get that position, even though I trained 9 other supervisors, so I was quite qualified. I filed several complaints with the compliance officer. They got rid of the compliance officer. I filed another complaint with the compliance officer because they hung a black dog up by the neck on a switch pole. Oh no. And they never addressed the issue, and because I complained about it, I was blackballed. I wasn't allowed to be promoted. That affected me a lot because of my great-grandmother, who was born in 1900, June 17th. The family history that she used to tell me about, she didn't want to see her only son, which was my great-uncle, hanging up by a tree. But to this day, they were supposed to give me a written statement of their findings. I never received that written statement. for that. So I'm here to try to make a difference. And SB 1340, if it was available during the time when I was going through, I would have had extra protection and extra backup. So it is very important for this bill to pass.
So our next speaker is no stranger to LA County, and she is my sister in the state Senate. Senator Durazo has been a leader in the labor movement for generations, and she is setting the model for how leaders, organizers, fighters for working people can come to the state capitol and cause all kind of havoc for all the right reasons. She sits with me on the labor committee. She's on my committee, and she has been an ally in this fight to ensure that the state of California has an infrastructure, not just one program, but an infrastructure rubric that guarantees and produces good jobs and ensures that every Californian has an opportunity to work in those good jobs. And so last year, SB 150, I'm getting my numbers confused, it's too early. With SB 150, I want to explain a little bit of the history. SB 150, the governor came forward and he had a number of infrastructure bills, and he wanted those to move forward. And it was Senator Durazo, myself, Senator Gonzalez, Senator Cortese, who said, well, wait a minute, if these projects are gonna move forward, how do we ensure these are good jobs? How are these gonna be jobs that help people in LA County pay their rent, let alone buy a house? How are these gonna be good jobs that ensures that Latinas, Black women, Black men, immigrant families have an access to work those jobs? And so we began to put together this movement of equity and labor. And we were able to get the governor to sign SB 150 last year to say yes. Again, there should be equity and labor, but now the devil is in the details, and that's what SB 1340 is. It's the receipts. It's how we're gonna get receipts on this money. It's how we're gonna know it's doing what we intended it to do. It's not enough to pass a bill, it's about the implementation and the intentionality of the work that we're doing. And I appreciate that this sister understands intentionality. Yes. She understands it. And so without further ado, Senator Durazo.
Well, thank you so much. You know, when I heard that Senator Smallwood-Cuevas was going to run for state senate, I was like, yeah! Woo! It was the most exciting moment because we need real warriors in the Senate for working families and working communities. And then the next most important moment was when she won and she showed up on the Senate floor with me and a few others to fight for these things. It's instinct for her. It's instinct for her. She doesn't have to be persuaded or any, you know. She knows how to make sure she's got the facts. Right. She's got the arguments. She's really smart about that. But more importantly, her instinct is to do good for working people. That's her instinct. And so it's been such a pleasure having her as a colleague, as a partner, as a co-strategist, you name it. We just look at each other and we know where we stand on the issue. And it's everything from having programs that help people who have traditionally and historically been excluded, deliberately excluded from good jobs and changing that so that everyone has access to good jobs. How else are we going to change the poverty in our communities unless we have access to careers with the training and the wages and the benefits? Imagine having a job with a retirement program. Imagine that. Not relying on Social Security as your only means of supporting yourself, but actually having a retirement plan and retire with dignity after a lifetime of work. All those things are just essential for what some people call economic dignity. Economic dignity. That's what we want. And so it's been such a pleasure that we each have taken our parts, of moving forward the legislation. And SB 1340 is about access. It's about equity. It's about making sure everyone has access. But Senator Smallwood-Cuevas has been very clear. We don't need access and equity to jobs that pay minimum wage. Okay? I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work. Thanks, but no thanks. What we need is equity and access for jobs that are good paying union jobs. That's what I'm talking. That's what we're talking about. And when people try to pit us against each other, oh, we'll give you access, or we'll give you good paying jobs, but not both. We're like, doesn't work. Doesn't work for us. We want what other communities have had generation after generation. We want what has been denied to our communities generation after generation. We want to raise our families, our children, alongside our neighbors, all to have the same opportunities as everywhere else, no matter where you live, the same opportunities. That's what we want. That's what we demand. And now, with organizing on the ground, side by side with legislators here, with Senator Smallwood-Cuevas and the others that she mentioned. That's how we change things. That's how we make a change in our communities, for our communities. And finally, we are getting lots of money from the federal government. Lots of money from the federal government. Thank God we have a Biden administration that is giving us the funding. And we tip our hat to President Biden for having the courage to push for funding that is owed to our communities. And he's made it very clear. I'm giving you funding so that you create good jobs, good union jobs, and have everybody included in there, whether you're formerly incarcerated, a woman, African American, an immigrant, doesn't matter. You all have the right to it. That comes straight from the top where the money is being given to us. Okay? So we're going to keep on moving forward. We know that when we elect our vice president to become president, she is going to move that vision forward. She's going to move that vision forward. No, we're not going to get thrown off here. We're not going off course. We're going to keep on moving forward with that vision. So, brothers and sisters, siblings, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that we have Senator Smallwood-Cuevas, and count on us to be partners alongside all of you as we move forward. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.
¿Sí se puede? ¿Sí se puede? ¿Sí se puede? Thank you so much, Senator Narasso. Thank you. And the senator is absolutely correct. I had the opportunity to visit with our vice president a couple weeks ago. And there's one message that she shared that I think is relevant for today. And it's about the legacy. What is the legacy that we are going to leave behind in our work as leaders in this space, as people who are fighting for justice? What is the legacy? And the legacy in California has to be a policy that ensures that every community has an opportunity to have a good job as a result of their tax dollars and investment. And she said three things. have the vision, and I think we have the vision, right, community? We got the vision. She said we got to build and track results. And we can't build and track results without data collection. We can't build and track results if we don't know who's missing and who we need to bring in. And then she said to tell our story. She said telling our story is what we have to do. And in order to tell our story, we want to proudly say, like we said in LA County, we have changed the ways in which our infrastructure workforce looks, because we have more women, and this is the number. Because we have more black workers, and this is the number. Because we have more immigrant workers, and this is the number. And that is why SB 1340 is important, because without it, we won't have that story to tell. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa, who's going to bring up our next speaker. All right, so one of our partners here is the Inland Empire Black Worker Center, and we have a worker here today to come and share her story. We're going to bring up Blue J. Robinson.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here and supporting. It means a lot to all of us that you're here. My name is Blue Robinson. I want to start off with a little bit of background. I currently hold my master's in political science and African American studies, and I want to earn my, I hold my bachelor's. I want to earn my master's. I was a first-generation college student of a low-income family, a single mother household. A strong black woman raised me, and out of all the adversity I faced when I was younger, the one thing I am most proud of and most happy to bring into my current life is that I was taught hustle when I was young. I'm grateful to my upbringing in many ways, because I had to learn young that ambition will get you far, but hustle will get you paid. After I put myself through undergrad, I started working in nonprofits. It was the best way to stay connected to my community, do what mattered to me, and still pursue my career in politics. I was a young professional, and my first paycheck was $60. It was hard earned, but I quickly learned that my family responsibilities were not going to get handled with $60. So I began to pick up second, third jobs. I was braiding hair. I started working at Taco Bell. If you could imagine that disparity, in the morning, I'm a media and racial equity director shaking hands with Senator Bradford, and at night I'm taking orders at Taco Bell just to make ends meet. When I reached my lowest, I had finally secured a better job. I had started saving. I was managing my medical debts. I was taking care of my student loan payments, taking care of my family, and it was finally enough that I had a full-time job and I was able to start saving for grad school. But I had made the mistake of asking my employer for a letter of recommendation. And 2 months later, I was let go. Wow. At the same time, my mother needed some help with making a mortgage. And whether it's pride or what else, I could not explain to her that I couldn't do it. So I sat and I ate through my entire savings. I ate through any backup plans I had just to keep myself and my mom afloat. I had to give up my dream of grad school, at least temporarily. I had went 3 months looking for a job, and I had reached my very lowest when I had walked out of an interview with 20 other women, and I was the only black woman there. I looked at my phone. I already knew I didn't get the job, but I had also gotten rejected, and I did not make it past the wait list for my dream school. That same night I had an event. I was working part-time at a community space, and I just happened to overhear Dr. Thomas talking to somebody about the Black Worker Center. And out of a whim, I thought I should go and talk to him. And not only was I able to get support and information about what the Black Worker Center did, providing support for people in my exact situation, but in 1 second, he looked at me and he asked me genuinely if I could expand on my situation, if I could explain this to him. And as a black woman, you're taught, you got to keep your emotions in check. You can't tell people what's going on. But he listened, and he really heard me. And he not only wanted to help me, he connected me with Atisha, and she was able to not only help me in that moment and get me connected to more resources, but she followed up for weeks. Someone I had never met before, weeks making sure that I was okay, checking in on me. And that was just enough to keep me going. Just enough to keep me going, to have me apply to one more job. And that one more job is the job I have now.
That's right.
I am currently the community organizer at Blue Education. I work on a project called the IE Black Women's Collective. And our goal is to bring resources and community spaces to Black women like me, young workers, and provide a space for us to collaborate and talk about the intersectionality of being a Black woman in this workspace. But my fight is not over, because there are thousands of other stories just like mine.
Yes. Yes.
There are thousands of qualified Black workers, thousands of educated Black workers, exceptional Black workers being put out of work, but there is no infrastructure to keep us safe. SB 1340, sorry, I'm trying my best here. SB 1340 will ensure the retention of Black employees, not the hire, but the retention of Black employees.
That's right, that's right.
SB 1430 will allow the community to investigate and address employment and wage violations that happen so often. Black workers are being put out of work because there is no infrastructure in place to protect us, but SB 1340 will establish that infrastructure to provide capital, the capital we need to champion statewide employment opportunities for minorities. I spent my entire adult life working 2 to 3 jobs, being grateful and thinking it was a privilege to have that opportunity. But that is not privilege, that is underemployment.
That's right.
And SB 1340 is not just opportunity, it's equity. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is the month of Black August, and for folks who don't know, Black August is a time when we honor freedom fighters, folks who through time, through our generations, our family lineage, have fought for liberation, for Black liberation. And what does that look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? Freedom, freedom for people who have working while Black experiences like us. It looks, smells, and tastes delicious, right? And so we are all here today. We've heard a couple working while Black stories. We have dozens we're sharing today as we go out and meet with legislators and go to the governor's office. There are hundreds and thousands of stories out there that we will continue to lift up and share. And in the words of a great freedom fighter, Assata Shakur, she says, and I'll ask you to repeat after me, "It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and respect one another.
We must love and respect one another.
And fists up, we have nothing to lose but our chains."
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Ashe. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you all for coming out today and spending this amazing time with us. It's always good to be in community when we're on the right side of history. It's always good to be in community when we're fighting for ourselves and our families. And that's what this rally was about. That's what this day is about. I understand you all are going to hit all of the offices and go meet up with the governor and send a message. And it is important. It's important for us to share what is happening to workers in our communities, but also the solutions that we have and the power we have to make the change and make a difference. And when Black workers are elevated, all communities are elevated. I want to say thank you again to the speakers. Let's give them a round of applause for their messages. Let's thank Bobby, our chant leader from earlier. Melissa, our MC. And we'll conclude. Can we conclude with the rally? A chant. Bobby, what's a good chant? Bobby, where's Bobby?
Bobby gone.
Oh, Bobby gone. Bobby. We win.
When we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
let's go!
Bobby over there, get it.
Senator, you.
George is going to walk us through the rest of the afternoon.
Hey folks, stealing, I think by my count, 4 second of your time. So very quickly, thank you again for your patience and for being here today. Very quickly, there is water now available on the right side of this tent. Storytellers, grab 2 if you want. Everybody else, feel free to grab 2. And so for the rest of the day, we're going to be doing lobby visits.
Step over.
And we're also going.
Thank you for your time, Senator Lola Smallwood-Cuevas. You mentioned these are skilled labor jobs too. You did mention infrastructure. Could you explain what type of jobs?
Sure. So this bill addresses funding that's coming from the Biden-Harris administration through the Science CHIPS Act, through our Infrastructure and Jobs Act, and through the dollars that are going to build, and I think the package is called Investing in America Dollars. And this is how are we building our climate resilient community. So how do we build the wind turbines? How do we build our solar panels? How do we deal with our pipes and all of the systems that we need to be able to transition our economy from one that is polluting to one that is going to ensure the safety of our earth and our communities. And so there are millions of different jobs that will be created through these dollars. Many of them are new jobs and they reflect the future of our workforce. And so we want to make sure that as we are making these initial investments in these projects, and certainly we should do that, we want to ensure that these are good jobs that pay family sustaining wages, that give folks a union, which means they have a voice to be able to be retained on their job and to grow into a career. And we want to make sure that those groups that have been historically excluded from many of these jobs, and when we say excluded, we're talking about the 19th century, the 20th century, where the 21st century, early on, where we could see that women, for example, Black workers, API workers, trans and LGBTQ workers are drastically underrepresented in this space. And so if we're going to be investing and creating a new economy, we want to start it right. We want to start it right by making sure these are family sustaining jobs that don't perpetuate poverty in California. And we want to make sure that our most vulnerable communities, our most underrepresented populations get called in and we set these jobs aside for them, which means we have to build new pathways, train up new folks, and ensure they're on this path to careers. We know California is doing this in many places. LA County is one. We know not too far from here, the UC Davis Medical Center is being built this way, where we have labor standards and we also have community benefits, and that we're very clear. We don't want the same old folks building. We want to make sure that we are growing our infrastructure workforce and that it looks and reflects California.
Yes, and you did say the dollar amount. Would that be like $100 billion? $100 billion would it be?
Yes.
That would be going to California.
Yes, to California. We already have received about $39 billion without any of these guardrails, and we are poised to receive even more. And that's why we are so grateful to the Biden and Harris administration for investing in California as they are investing in all of the country. And we look forward to more investments in the future, but that's why California has to get it right. That's why we have to create the guidelines that ensure that we are growing this new economy, but we're growing it together and we're growing it high road.
That's great. That's good. I do have one other question because I know you have to get going.
Sure.
Well, how important was it for those individuals to come and share their experiences and their stories of hardship when they are really trying to be out here to be a productive citizen? Because this work center that you have, definitely outstanding, exceptional stuff, but these people are still trying, to make the right decisions and get the right job. So how important was that for them to share their experience?
It was so beautiful for them to come, take the time out of their busy schedule, and we know it's a 12-hour bus ride, really 20-hour bus ride here and back to come to the state capitol and to share their story. So I'm incredibly grateful I am so thankful for their voices, and not just their voices here, but the work they are doing every day at home, not to just work on their individual issues, but to make sure that all of our community, all of our workforce, Black workers and women, the underrepresented API public, that all workers in California across the state have the opportunity to benefit from these dollars. The disadvantaged community in LA County will look different than the disadvantaged community in, let's say, Beaver, California. But what we need is the rubric and the guardrails and the guidelines that make sure that we call in, no matter where you are and who you are, if you're underrepresented and disadvantaged, that you have a set aside to be able to benefit from these dollars that are coming into our state to build our climate resilient future. So I'm grateful to these workers because they have their eyes on the prize, and they are here for the collective benefit and the common cause of all of us. And that is to make sure that our families can thrive in this state, no matter who they are, what they look like, and where they live. And we can only accomplish that if we have real policies that make that happen. And so I'm grateful for their stories. I was heartbroken by some of the testimony and the ways that discrimination and exclusion happens, but this is about making sure we right those wrongs. It's making sure that we do that through policy, and we have the power to make that difference.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Senator
much.
Smallwood-Cuevas.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.